Hi guys. So exactly what did happen a year ago when robsshed went off the air? Well, stick around and I'll tell you. Regular viewers of the channel will know my truck, and I had been sort of going for a little bit of a career change in direction back to my old road transport days. I got the truck going probably May last year, so May 2023, and we did our first interstate job in June 23. And since then, I've pretty much been doing things I have to do. And like, you've always got things that you want to do, things that you have to do. So getting the green ute going again, that's something I want to do. Like, yes, it'd be nice to have it on the road. It would be very useful, and a lot of family members are missing it, but I don't have to do it to be able to put food on the table. So that's on the want to do list. The top of the have to do list, of course, is remembering to breathe in again after you breathe out, and then you work down from that spot there. Now, I put the truck on the road, I rushed it through, and I burnt myself out. So I do apologise for that. I just absolutely physically and mentally drove myself into the ground to get the truck going. It was my just prime focus. I put everything I had into that. And then because I was physically run down, I came down with COVID, of all things, which I'd been sort of skirting around. We'd had sort of people around us with it ever since it sort of hit the scene here in Western Australia, and I'd sort of managed to escape it. But no, I came down with it, and it knocked me like a ton of bricks and just wiped me out completely. Got through that and wound up with long COVID, and up until November last year, I had absolutely zero extra energy. I could push on, do the things I had to do, but as far as anything I wanted to do, no. So a course of steroids later, got my old bounce back, and got back into life and got things happening. But the truck has gobbled up a lot of time. It was put on the road with a lot of things that just weren't really ready, and naturally, being Rob, the shakedown cruise was just a little short one to make sure everything was working. So I drove it to Melbourne, and got as far as loading it in Melbourne and then heading out in the middle of the night, and the truck's backfiring and stalling and all sorts of things as soon as it had come back anywhere near maximum torque. And it turns out big Detroit motors, they don't like sitting around not being used for 12 years, and the injectors had all died. On top of that, I knew it already had an injector issue that I'd walked around, and I'll tell you why. When I bought the truck, it had a brand new engine in it, but it had second-hand injectors. The injectors weren't the right ones for the engine, and they were leaking. But it didn't use too much fuel, but it made super horsepower, like far more than what the engine was rated at. So I was loath to do anything with the injectors, just in case I lost the horsepower. So anyway, we got to Melbourne, the truck's broken down, there was nothing else for it. I'm not familiar with people around there, and it wound up just going back to Detroit, and I said, make it run. And we wound up putting the same injector back in it, but reconditioned ones rather than the old worn out ones. And exactly what I was afraid of happened. There was, the truck goes, it works fine and things like that, but it's providing horsepower at the rated horsepower now, which is well down on what it used to do. So there's got to be a few mods there in the future to bring that back. Yeah, with the truck, it's just been an evolution of bits and pieces. As they've been breaking, I've been repairing them, and it's getting there. But we will need to be doing some more work on it in the not too distant future. So hopefully we will bring some of that to YouTube, a bit of cutting and welding and things like that. I'm going to be changing a few bits and pieces for a bit more gross combination capacity so that we can put more weight on it, and but that's all for the future. So what has happened with our projects that have been part of YouTube? Well, I've done a little bit on the green ute, not much, and it's mostly happened when I have been running out of puff and getting frustrated with the whole truck project, and family members have said, look, just go down there and play with one of your toys. Do something that just you want to do. It's not something you have to do. So I've done a bit more on the tailgate. So I've taken that from where we left it. I've done the filler work on it. It's been primed, it's ready to be rubbed down and painted, but like everything else in the shed, it's acquired a layer of dust. So I'll just try and make it look a little bit happier for you. But I don't know about you guys, but I reckon that's come up an absolute treat. That's exactly what I was looking for. we have got 100% unique tailgate. It is our own. No one else has got one like this. If anyone ever runs into the back of it, no one else will ever have one like this, because I'm not going to do it again, guys. It'll just wind up with a plain tailgate on it. The only other thing that's happened on Green Ute, if you just come around over here, Deb.
I can't fit.
Yeah. As usual, guys, we've got Debbie on camera, and I do my best to sort of be the nut in front of the wheel, so to speak. I've got the doors off. I'm going to be painting the windscreen opening, the roof and the door jambs all in one go, and the insides of the doors. We'll put the door back on there, and then we'll paint off the line, probably on this line here. We can get a bit of overspray in there and we can wet that up again afterwards. And we'll just paint the outside of the car with the doors on. Main reason for this is the fender actually comes across the top of here, and if you paint the car with the guards on, you will wind up with a furry edge. You can see just past the gap there. So I'll paint the pillar there first, put the guards on. We can mask in behind the guard because there is just a little gap through there, a daylight gap. Get a bit of tape through there, paint the car, peel it all off. It'll look like it's one go. When we left this, the windscreen was in it, and it did have rust in the roof over here, and I repaired what I could with the glass in it. I gave it a blast up to the glass line to get rid of any scaly rust that was up there, but I do have a few deep pits in here. I'll just weld those up and grind them smooth. So that's the only real repair left to be done on the car. And it is August now, so the weather's pretty wet and ordinary here in Western Australia. So once the weather fines up a bit and I've got time, we can just blast that and get some paint on the roof and the doors, get the doors fitted up and lined up. The front guard, I was trying to make my own unique little, well, sporty guard rather than the original to just hold fire. I'll grab the pieces that should be in it. This is the GMH setup. So they've got this little vent piece that clips into the guard with the little chrome bar with the little indicator repeater light in it. Now when this model, well, generation came out with these, I always thought that looked a bit tacky. From the point of view that you've got a line around here, it looked like a cheap insert to me. I always thought they should have done it like this and made the insert clip straight into the guard and then put the chrome highlight on there just on top of the guard. So I've done this, made a bit of tooling. That piece will actually hook in there. This doesn't quite work, mainly from the point of view, I've just got some of the angles a little bit wrong. I could persevere with it and get the Holden plastic piece to fit in there, but I think I'd be more inclined to make something out of brass and get it chromed that would take the original light, and that for me would work much better. But I'm in two minds now which way I'm going to go with it. Part of me says I just want the car on the road. I can keep this pair of guards separate, and I can just get a couple of aftermarket guards that take these, and I can just put it together, paint a couple of new guards, put it on there and it goes, and then take my time to get this where I want it. So that's probably where we're going to go with that. So that's something we'll do on the channel. We'll bring you up to speed on that, and we'll probably show you how I did this on the other side guard as well, just to give you a few little insights, a bit like the tailgate, another little project. I will apologise for the state of the shed. It is a disgrace. For a year I've been running between job to job, project to project, and there is just stuff everywhere, so don't look too close, guys. It's not normally like this. Our old Kingswood ute is exactly where we left it. We've got the door ready to pull the skin off and do the rest of the repairs on the frame and go back on there. So that will happen. We haven't done that behind the scenes and without you guys. So for everyone that wants to see a skin coming off a door with the intention of putting it back on, that one's going to happen. We're going to start doing a few engine upgrades. I'm going to do an electronic ignition conversion on it, walk you through that step by step, because a lot of people are doing that upgrade on these old cars now, and a lot of people are having trouble with distributed modules burning out and all sorts of things like that. Easy fix for that. I'll show you how to do that. That's all coming up. But that's about it with the old brand ute. It has not been running for nearly 2 years. October 2 years ago was the last time I actually had this thing fired up and running. So it might almost be a little bit of a will it start video to try and get the thing going. So it'll be full of stale fuel and stuff like that. So no doubt some of the carburetor gaskets and things have dried out in it a bit. And the carburetor that is currently on the engine does actually have an issue with the idle circuit, so I've got to work through that and solve that problem. It is the original Rochester, and it does have the phenolic resin float in it, which has got heavy. And the composition floats that came in these, they float on top of the fuel for many, many years, and then they just get heavy, they sink. They actually soak up with material in there. So back when these were second-hand car age group, we used to take the original floats out, the composition ones, and we would put in brass floats, and that would solve the problem. They last forever. I used to always have stocks of Quadrajet floats and gasket sets and things like that. I don't these days. I've actually got to go online and buy a few bits and pieces before we can do that. But we need to work through the carburetor. We'll do the ignition, and then we can do a follow-up video on all of the things you can do once you have high energy ignition. There she is, old truck back on the road, and we've done heading for 90,000 kilometres since we've had it on the road in the year, so not a lot, and the sort of work we're doing is a little bit specialised, and it's not there all the time. So we go when the work's there, and when we're not, we've got a little bit of in-between time to get things sorted. And like I say, now that we're reaching the point where we've almost got our heads above water again, and we can sort of start looking at some of the stuff we want to do, YouTube's back on the table, so I'm really looking forward to getting back into it. So old truck, it's a 1988 International S-Line. They're called an S-Series in other parts of Australia, but other parts of the world, but in Australia they're called an S-Line. It took me 20 years to come up with the name for the bug deflector, and it just came to me out of the blue, and I thought, oh, you bloody idiot, why didn't you think of that years ago? So Inter short for international, S for the S-Line, and altogether it says Interstater, and we travel interstate with it. And yeah, so like I say, it was so obvious once it comes to you, but when you haven't thought of it, you're sort of going through a million other cryptic sort of names that you can have, and you sort of don't get it to work. So prime mover itself, that's all working pretty well at the moment, but like I say, in the future, to get a bit more gross combination, I need heavier drive axles and a different gearbox in it, but we will just cut it in half and weld half another truck on the back of it, and I'll make it a little bit longer at the same time to give the ride quality a bit more and fit a bit more fuel on. So longer wheelbase, we can put more tanks on it, or longer tanks on it. The trailer was the cheapest trailer I could find because that was all I had in my budget. I'd sold the trailer that I made years ago, and it was perfectly set up for me when I was working before as an owner-driver, because I could put containers on it, I could put pipes on it, it had bolster pockets and container pins, it had gates, it had tarps, it had lift-up axles, ABS braking on it, airbag suspension, you name it. It was a really nice trailer. And so I sold that and bought the cheapest trailer I could find, which was a cut-down curtain-sided trailer and ugly and ordinary. So since then I've been working on it. The front came off recently. Those of you that follow my Facebook page will have seen all the pictures of that. I've sort of been keeping that up on Facebook. If you don't follow us on Facebook, jump on there, just put my name in, Rob Teal. You'll find my own Facebook page, and then there's another one that's Rob Teal Interstater, and we put everything to do with the truck on that one. So that's a pipe gate I pressed up here, welded together in the shed. I didn't have any gates for this trailer until recently, and then Facebook Marketplace gave me 10 out of a 12 gate set with a gate carrier, so I bought that. They don't belong to this trailer, so I had to fit gate pockets all the way along to make it work. And being a cut down curtain cider, it has got these pressed steel coaming rails on them which have copped a hiding over the years, and it was so ugly that even painting it doesn't make it look nice. And before I sort of headed off on the first interstate trip, Dad was quite adamant that you've got to paint that trailer, and I said, why? It's not going to make it look any better. And he said, well, if nothing else, it'll keep the cops off you and things like that. And I said, well, if you want to come and prepare it, I'll paint it. And so he's sanding away down the coaming rails, and he said, how good do you want it? And I said, I want it as good as you're going to get it, and I'm just going to paint over that. So I was painting it, it started to rain, and so it's painting it outside in the rain, things like that. But anyway, it's worked. I've since repainted the coaming rails since then, because with welding gate pockets in there, I burnt a lot of paint and things like that, and I've had to tidy that up. But the coaming rails will be cut off, and I will put 5-inch channel on there. I'll show you on the back in a minute what I'm talking about, and a rope rail on the bottom. So we've done that, and puddle in the way, but Deb can stand on the other side, I'll stand on this side. I've been fitting container pins to it. And so I've got 3 beams through the trailer already. If you get the camera under there and just show the guys the beam underneath there. There's a big...
I don't trust you to do it.
That's a universal column, and I just measured up the column on another trailer and got the same size piece of steel to weld into this one. So what's legal on someone else's trailer is legal on mine. But the container pins lift out, and you put them in there, you drop your container on, and then you twist the handle. So they're called twist locks for obvious reasons. And then when you're not using them, they drop down. So just after we get through this video, I'm actually going to get the trailer in the shed, and I've got to put another beam through back here with 2 more pins on it. And that will give me the option of either putting 2 20-foot containers on or 1 40-foot container. And then the next thing is to put another 2 beams through in the centre of the trailer to put a heavy 20-foot container in the middle, and that'll give us a full set of container pins. Dunnage box at the back that I made for it, it never had that on it. So that's got all my timber gluts in there. Pretty easy and straightforward and out the way. And old mate of mine, when I was telling him I was going to put it on the trailer, he said, with a glut box, he said, you work out where on your trailer you need a step to get on the trailer, and he said you put the box there. So this works because 1 foot on the bumper, 1 foot on the box, and you're on the trailer. So that's a step as well, so that works. The back of the trailer was pretty ugly. I cut this off and just replaced all the back. So here's the 5-inch channel I was talking about. What I love about this stuff is it's immune to forklifts. So when somebody's loading it and they're not so steady on the forklift and they just keep banging into the trailer, they can't hurt this stuff. Whereas the pressed steel stuff, you can look down the side of it, and you can see all the ripples in it where the ends of the forks have been hitting it and the forklift mast's been bashing into it and things over the years. So that'll all be gone. We'll put a rope rail like this along the bottom of it, and it'll look like a proper trailer. It's a road train lead. That was part of the reason why I bought it, because it had the ring feeder already on it for that. And I've since upgraded the tail lights on it to bigger LEDs. Traffic these days, I'm in Melbourne and Sydney and places like that, Perth with it, and you're in heavy traffic. The bigger you can have flashing lights on a semi-trailer these days, the better off you are. And the other thing we've got is fixed oversized signs. Because a lot of what I do is over-dimensional work, so it's got oversized signs on it that just flip up. And now we've been pulling road trains with it. I guess we'll have to get the one that does oversize as well as road train and go on there. But usually I'll use this one as the lead trailer, so it won't matter. So that's about it, guys. There's a lot more stuff's happened in our year. We've had our daughter injured her back and couldn't continue to work, so she's moved back home with her family. So we've got grandkids living with us, and Deb and I are just over the moon with that. We've got these two little fellas, and they're Papa's apprentices, and so they follow him around all over the place, and of course my ego likes that. And so that's bad for them but good for us, and they've also had the support of us being there, so in a way that's all worked out well for them. My dad, you've been following my videos, you learned he's had a few health problems. Well, we nearly lost him back before Christmas there, and he had emergency surgery to correct a bowel problem where part of his bowel had actually died, and they'd sort of said to us that this is probably going to be it, guys. And so that's a tough thing to go and see your dad the night before surgery and sort of talk to him and understand that it's possibly the last time you're going to see him. But he is a cat. I don't know how many lives he's got left because he bounced back again, and so we're all super happy about that. Had a young brother, had a stroke recently, Darren, so if you've got room for your thoughts and prayers, Darren Teal, he's sort of recovering from that. And got to say, when your young brother's having heart problems and a stroke, that's a bit of a wake-up call. So there's a lot of things I want to do in my life, and I'm hoping you guys are coming along for the ride. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with more great content. Thanks, guys, and thank you so much for supporting us over the last year and staying with the channel. The subscriber count has grown a little bit over 12 months, which for me is great, because for a while I was just so under the pump I couldn't even consider anything YouTube until the last few weeks, where I've got back on the channel and actually had a bit of a look at what's been going on and seen some of the questions. And I do apologise for everyone who has asked how we were going that have been left largely ignored. So this is the sorry video, this is the apology, and this is the little bit of a catch up. So stay safe everybody, we'll talk to you soon.